Hi, I'm Patrick McGuire. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach, DISC consultant, yoga instructor, martial artist, and former IT director. I help people make the most important shift of their life, from who they had to be to who their life is calling them to become. You've done everything right, built a career, earned the respect, got results, but something feels off. Maybe your health, your joy, your relationships, or your purpose got left behind. Because the truth is, what got you here may not be what's needed for where you're headed next. Are you ready to rise into your next chapter? Whether that's leading others, creating a legacy, or finally living a healthy, vibrant lifestyle where health, well-being, and strong relationships flourish. Well, you're in the right place. Today I'm joined by Grace Millsap, owner of Elemental Moon Yoga and co-founder of Moonwolf Movement. Grace isn't just another yoga instructor. She's a trainer of yoga instructors, and she doesn't stop there. Not only does she train and equip new teachers, she also creates opportunities for new teachers to put their skills to work. Today we have a conversation about putting your dreams to the test, identifying potential leaders, and the power of creating a leadership culture. If you truly want to make a bigger impact, keep learning, keep growing, because you can only lead to your level of growth. All right. Hello, beautiful people. Today I'm here with Grace Millsap, yoga instructor, and Elemental Moon is your business name.
Elemental Moon Yoga School.
It's also where I got my yoga teacher certification, my 200 hours. And so today I wanted to just talk with you guys a little bit about one of my heroes, Grace, and she's doing this one thing that's really wonderful, and that's not just leading leaders, but helping them flourish. Grace, what inspired you to not just become a yoga instructor, but a teacher of teachers?
I wish I could say that I was like super clear and wanted this and wanted that, but truly it's been more of a following a passion than a like super straight path to knowing exactly what I want. I was a research scientist before I was a yoga teacher, and I found myself really interested in the science side of yoga. I had actually applied to grad schools and didn't get in, and decided to go to yoga teacher training instead because I wanted to study yoga and thought it would be a good idea to get a more solid background before I went and did super specific research studies. So it was just an idea, a plan B, if you will, or a adjacent plan. I was like, well, if you're not going to accept me here, I'm going to go learn here, type of scenario. And when I was done with my 200, I didn't feel like I deserved or like I was good enough to ever call myself a yoga teacher. So I put all of these teachers of mine on this like really tall pedestal and was like, I'm not that. And I'm still not that, right? Spoiler. And I knew that I needed to try to teach sooner rather than later, or that voice would win. So I literally started teaching just to prove that I could, to prove it to myself. And worst case, I don't like it. No big deal. I could walk away from it, but at least I tried, and it wasn't like I gave up on it before I started. And I did it, and it was awkward at first. I did a little more, and I got a little more comfortable, and I found myself wanting to sub classes and, just really saying yes to the opportunities that were coming up. And then I got laid off from my big fancy scientist job, and I actually had a break. I was going to Nicaragua to begin a second round of teacher training. And I was going to be gone for like 3 weeks, which it synchronistically, unplanned, coincided with the end of my job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sounds like
things are lining up.
Yeah, in hindsight, they were. In the moment, it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I just, for the first time, really had to trust whatever was happening and spinning and falling into and out of place was going to catch me on the other side. And I mean, it has.
Yeah.
Was that scary for you to make that transition?
Oh, it was terrifying, but it really felt like that was the path I was on. I couldn't apply for new jobs because I was going to be gone, and I wouldn't be able to respond to them and, you know, schedule interviews or any of that because I was just going to be gone on this other path. And I'd reached out to one of the yoga studios, or the main yoga studios teaching that, and said, hey, I'm going to have a bit more free time here in the future. If you need someone, like, I could be your person. Whatever you got, I'll entertain it. And while I was in Nicaragua, I got an email from the owner of that studio wanting to set up a meeting with me, and it led to me becoming the manager of that studio.
Wow.
So I maybe had like a week back in town before I was, you know, employed, but on a completely different path. And it's really, like I said, it's been following the endings, the beginnings. I'm currently in a bit of a free fall. Coincidentally, I kind of lost my job, my main source of income, before we came on this lovely venture. And again, it was literally the same scenario. I have time out of the country coming up. Spoiler, we're in Costa Rica right now. This is...
Hello from Costa Rica.
Yeah, this is not North Carolina. So I had to take the same leap of faith and trust, and I was recalling a similar time that I'd been here and being like, okay, I remember really freaking out and being scared of that. And yeah, there's still a little bit of that this time, but it's worthwhile to reflect on that journey and be like, whoa, look at all those things that happened because I took these steps not on a clear path, not exactly knowing, oh, I want to be the manager of a studio. Like, I had no idea. But having that space and that freedom and that ability to be like, yes, to this new thing I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said a couple things that really stood out to me, and you know, one of them was that you used to put these yoga teachers on this pedestal, and it's like you've been growing yourself and studying and getting better and better, and it's like now people are doing that to you.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing, right? With the buildup of a bunch of small steps on top of each other, what can do, which you never imagine yourself being able to do someday. All of a sudden, you're like, wow, I'm the one who's leading these.
I'm doing the things, yeah.
Taking people on this retreat. You know, and a lot of times people say it's like, oh, you got lucky, or something was working for them, but it's like, no, you kept at it, and it was scary, and it's going to be scary for everybody who tries something new and different.
And I think, there is a bit of luck involved, but we all have that luck. It's just being able to recognize when that lucky moment comes up and being brave enough or dumb enough, maybe as the case may be, a little of both sometimes, to just say yes to that thing.
Yeah, beginner's mind, right?
Yeah.
You don't know, you haven't boxed yourself in yet.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, well, I'm going to stumble along this path because, I can see one step in front of me.
And if somebody doesn't give you the opportunity, you create your own opportunities. And I don't know, I'm just going out on a limb. I wonder if that's what's helped you decide to create opportunities for other people.
Yeah, I've been told no a lot in my life,
Yeah.
but I think that's the journey, right? Like, it doesn't mean it's the end, it just means, well, maybe not that way. I remember when I worked as a scientist, my boss, I had a lot of admiration for her because she had gone back to school after 40 and after having 2 kids. Because she had dropped out of high school, and she went and got her GED, went straight through college, went straight through grad school, making straight A's the whole way. And the thing that I remember admiring the most about her life, because I thought I used to want her life, I thought I wanted a research lab, but I was able to witness how stressful that was, how much administrative work it is, how much getting research grants, and so it really, to me, what I admired about her life boiled down to 2 things. It was being able to learn and always educate myself and just be around. I really loved being around scientists, right? Like, there was just really smart people, right? But that's not only scientists are smart people, right? So I wanted to be in a constantly learning and growing and evolving opportunities. And I love that she got to travel. She got invited all of these amazing places to share her work and share her research. So those were the two things I admired, and I feel like I've embodied both of those as a yoga teacher who often leads retreats in amazing places.
Right. Well, I mean, it's this idea of what's success too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
And a lot of times we get told what success is. It's piled onto us. Oh, you be a doctor, or you have to do this, and it's like, well, does it make you happy? And you have to check in up here in your head and your heart, and then back up here, and then back down here.
Right. And then, is this actually what I want, or is it informed by, things around me that aren't actually my voice influencing my opinions?
Yeah. So now you create space for others to practice. Was I on your first cohort of students, or was there one before me?
You were technically my third year of leading teacher training, but the second year of Elemental Moon.
Okay.
The first year of Elemental Moon was 2020. So
good year, right?
Good year.
Fine wine.
Yeah, that's also the year I started retreat business. So that was poorly timed, but also I learned a lot, right? So the first one we did was completely virtual. So the second year ended up being a little hybrid because we had a moment of like, oh, it's safe to be in the world again, and then there was a moment of like, ooh, not quite yet. Being flexible is the lesson there, I believe.
Yeah.
Of many.
It's funny, when I first started doing yoga, I didn't know much about it. I knew there was like stretches and things like that, and it really liberated my body. But it wasn't until I did the yoga teacher training and read books like The Heart of Yoga and learned about the 8 limbs that I was like, wow, this is really solid in terms of practical wisdom for showing up in everyday life.
Yeah, yoga is more than just the shapes or the asanas. It's ways that we show up on the mat, ways we treat ourselves, ways we treat others. The asanas are really just preparing us to be able to take a seat. And it's hard to sit if, this is aching or hurting, or, we've been sitting all day, so we're all jittery and want to move, right? So the asana is meant to give us the ability to sit and to breathe and to maybe have a moment of meditation, but they aren't everything, even though they are. If we were to just say yoga into a room, many people would have a down dog or a crow pose or some sort of physical shape pop into their minds before any of the other wealth and depth of things that actually are yoga, traditionally speaking.
Yeah, and a lot of things pop into people's head. I know some people don't know anything about it and are afraid of it almost because it's like a superstition almost about, like, they think it's going to bring some bad juju into their bodies, their minds, or get taken over by something.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely clear and honest, right, some yoga can be a little more towards the culty end of the spectrum than others. But historically speaking, yoga is a practice of liberation, which can be scary, right, to folks who want to keep us tethered to certain ideals or ways of being that are, maybe more beneficial to them than it is to us. But yeah, yoga practices are meant to liberate us mentally, physically, in our souls, so a little spiritually, but they're not necessarily tied to any dogma or specific religion. Although there are lots of little offshoots and subsects and limbs of this really deep and broad tree that we experience.
Well, speaking of like I don't know if this falls under dogma, but like beliefs and way of showing up, the way I always showed up, I was always like 100% in and like had to do everything as hard as I could. And, after a while that starts to wear your body out and beat you up and beat you down. And if you've already ran and you've already lifted and you've already done all those things and your head still has mental chatter and your heart still feels tight, what do you do next? And that's what I really...
Or did you even do yoga if you pushed yourself into more of a distressed state than when you started?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about getting to know you and developing my overall practice as a human being is that I don't always have to push myself so hard. And even with the practices we've had here, there's hard segments to it, but it has a nice arc where at the end of it I feel very restored and It's like I feel like I worked out, but I also feel very peaceful and calm, the way I want to feel. I feel more myself.
Yeah, it's a coming back to ourselves is what a practice of yoga has the ability to do. And sometimes we may need a practice that we push through, but most of the time our lives are pretty pushy. Right? We have other things that we're doing. You mentioned the running and the other things, but also we have work, we have stress, we have family. So sometimes our yoga practice needs to counter that with a little more softness, which is not something that we're naturally taught in human school.
Yeah, and even like the different ages that we're going through. I mean, what I can do now in this decade is different than what I could do last decade.
Totally. Yeah, and Jessica Char in Heart of Yoga talks about how we should be able to adapt our yoga practice to meet us where we are, not bend and mold and push ourselves into a yoga practice that doesn't fit us.
Yeah, and one of my philosophies for a long time has been this thing I call blossoming for life. And what that means to me is it's like keep showing up, like being able to, I'm turning 50 this year, and it's like, a lot of folks are surprised that I'm 50, or about to be turning 50, and I owe a lot of that to, practices like this that I've had under my belt for a while, and it's like, well, who do I want to be in my next decade, and start planting those seeds and practices into place.
Yeah.
Like if you wait till you need to be.
Yeah, it's preventative.
You put the seeds in before you need it, right?
Yeah, if you're already hungry and trying to plant seeds, you're going to be hangry real soon.
Well, and speaking of hangry, those are one of those things that life piles on top of us, like traffic, our hormones and our just traffic.
Social
life
media,
news,
365-day access to everyone, everywhere, all the time.
Opinions. Like strong opinions. Those types
Remember
of
when we didn't know what people were thinking?
Yeah, that's nice, right? You had a lot more peace. More peace in your life when I didn't keep up with the news and all this stuff. But it's at the same time you have to not go be a hermit and hide somewhere.
Yeah, that's what these practices of yoga can do for us, right? They give us the tools that we need so we can show up and we can step away, right? A lot of older yogic practices required that we shed off our family life and give away all of our possessions and go become beggars or live in the mountains in a cave. Which that's one way of doing things, right? No stress if we don't have anybody around us or any circumstances or places we need to be. But actually our yoga practice can prepare us to show up more skillfully within this world and the obstacles that get put in our path and the people, places, and circumstances that we encounter.
Yeah. I sometimes joke that I started at a -50, and practices like this they're helping me show up better. It's like now I'm at a 0.
Yeah.
What's next? I'll be at a 1.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to -15, and that's okay.
Right. There's ups and downs, but upward trends, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think was? I'm sure there's been more than one, but what do you think was the biggest pivotal moment for you in your journey? Because I know mine was just learning about the 8 limbs, being like, wow, this is so enlightening to hear this. It's such a good sound way of showing up.
Yeah, I would say the aspect of Ayurveda that's entrenched or connected to a yoga practice, which I consider Ayurveda to be a sibling science to yoga. It's also considered the science of life. So it was really learning about the energies and the elements. And it sounds woo-woo, but it's actually extremely practical. So understanding myself better and the ways that I'm really fiery sometimes, the way that I'm a little airheaded or, space cadet sometimes, and also the ways that I can kind of feel stuck in the mud or lethargic. And the ways that those seasons and foods and really everything in life, even the asanas, have these energies. So knowing that I can kind of weave my own pattern of the world for myself and for my students, but from a very intelligent but palatable and tangible space, intelligent and tangible.
Yes. I think that what you said just resonated for me, because we're not dummies. At least most of us aren't.
Right.
And we can sense things, and sometimes things don't sit right with us. But some of these practices, give you language to articulate it better and understand it in a better depth and breadth. What was it? Something I was learning the other day that's not yoga, but it was like disc. It was like I was like, oh wow, like okay, I see. That's how I show up. I understand how I show up, and how that way of showing up like that could trigger people who don't work well with that personality type or that way of expressing oneself. Right?
Ooh, yeah, that's the real work.
But
like, sometimes I'm the asshole.
Yes,
Got it.
Sometimes, right? Yeah.
There's this quote, right? If you meet one asshole in the morning, okay, no big deal. But if you like run into assholes all day long, then maybe you need to look back at yourself as the common denominator here.
Amen to that.
Yeah, so if it's like, what has your yoga practice done for you? It's made me aware of when I'm being an asshole, and then I get to decide, is it warranted? Which sometimes, and if not, then I get to choose, right?
Yeah. So you said something earlier that you were like still on your journey. What's current for you, and what's next?
Ooh, we are in a big trusting phase. Life's been doing a funny thing lately, and I'm here for it. Like, funny in a good way. There were some things that were potentially falling into place, and then they all just like exploded. And there was a moment where I was like, okay, I see this happening, but I really have this feeling that like everything's gonna come back. What's yours is meant to be yours.
Yeah.
And nobody can ever take things that are meant to be yours. So I put it into a group chat. I'm like, I don't feel like this is over. Like, I feel like things are gonna come back, and this is still gonna be the story. And it's been quite the challenging story in between. And literally while we were at lunch, I got some texts that were pulling the story back together, and I'm like, okay. So very vague because it's still being written.
Okay.
Quite literally, as we speak, there are things that are finding their way back together. Always just trusting. The thing that I keep telling myself is everything is always working out in my favor. So even when it feels like things are scattered and confusing and everything's falling apart, trusting that whatever is going to be woven back together is in the direction of what I actually want and actually need. I saw a friend post something that said, you pray for flowers and you're given rain. So it's like, okay, I didn't exactly get what I wanted, but I've been given the tools to get what I want. So there's still some steps and some stages in between.
You have some momentum going now as well. I know the first 2 retreats I went on you taught primarily most of the classes and ran them all. And I believe this time you have a little bit more. And so one of the things the leader does is when they develop other leaders, they magnify their impact, and they're able to not only magnify their impact, but it takes less individual effort from you as well.
And that's a game of trust, because as you know, one of those leaders I empowered turned around and kind of stabbed me.
But that happens.
It
right?
does. There's some life lessons there, and I really had to first take some time to heal the wound, right? Like quite literally, like heal, and then there was some moments of like trusting again. Right? Like, okay, this person did this thing, but that doesn't mean that every person's going to do that thing. But there's been many stages in that too, and opening it back up to people and working with people, because I plan these things like a year-ish in advance.
Yeah.
So it really, to work with people that I can maintain long-term and sustainable relationships with is really important. Because a lot can go down during those planning months, and during the week that we're here. So it's important to, have trust in that person. And then the other thing is to let go of some of my control.
Yeah, right.
Because, I plan all these great things and it's like, okay, cool. And then the second part is loosening up my grip so all the magic things can happen.
Yeah.
And that's a whole separate practice and skill that I'm getting better at, but it was
I feel like it's a deep
one.
dive that we need to come back and visit, because that's an important one, and I don't think we're unique in exploring that. Like, every leader at some point in time, as they're developing their sphere, has to be able to identify the correct people that are to bring along with them. Everybody deserves love, but not everybody deserves your time.
Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah.
People have to earn your time, and that's sad to say, but it's true, because otherwise people will drag you down and not lift you up. If we're the product of the 5 people we spend time with, we want to be able to trust people.
Yeah.
And when you trust people, it's like, I either trust you because I know you, or I don't trust you because I know you, or right.
Right. And it was a huge thing of like not feeling bad about myself for giving so much and not needing to close off that. It's like, no, like the answer isn't to give less. The answer is to give and love more. Even though this person did these things, that shouldn't impact how I show up in the world and how I want to give to others always, but there's still a moment of like closing off first as self-protection, and then it's like, no, I'm gonna come back loving more, giving more, but also with a little more discernment.
Maybe that's what we're on the current agenda right now.
Yeah.
Discernment.
Yeah,
right?
we're in the age of discernment.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, this is Grace Millsap, Elemental Moon, and I'll put all of her contact information for the next retreat and yoga classes and Ayurvedic consultations, right?
Sure.
What else do you provide?
I'm also a massage therapist, with quite a few modalities under my belt, and always expanding. So who knows what we can add to the list in the year 2028 when this is continued to be viewed on the interwebs.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This is again Grace Millsap, and I'm Patrick McGuire. This is Altus Ascent.